You've probably heard a lot about burnout. You've seen videos, posts, advice everywhere. But did you ever stop to ask yourself if you really understood what burnout actually is? And more importantly, would you even recognize it if it was happening to you? Or would you assume it's something else? Stress, age, lack of motivation may be just a phase. The most dangerous burnout isn't the one that breaks you. It's the one that convinces you you're still fine. Because the longer you stay functional while disconnected, the more your brain starts treating numbness as normal. And once numbness feels normal, you stop noticing what it's costing you. And if you're someone who thinks fast, solves problems easily, adapts without complaint, you're actually at higher risk than most people realize. Because intelligent people don't burn out the way others do. You're still waking up, still showing up, still getting things done. Your inbox is clean, your deadlines are met, your life looks organized from the outside. So how could anything be wrong? But somewhere underneath all that function, something quietly shifted. You stopped caring in the way you used to. You stopped feeling connected to what you're doing. And instead of alarm bells, there's just silence. If you're still functioning, still delivering, still being relied on, what I'm about to show you matters more than you think. Because your burnout doesn't look like collapse. It looks like control. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. Burnout doesn't start with exhaustion. It starts with a subtle loss of meaning. And intelligent people almost never notice it at first. Because their mind keeps working. Their routine stays intact. Their life looks stable from the outside. They're the ones everyone counts on. The problem solvers. The reliable ones. The people who make difficult things look easy. What disappears isn't productivity. It's the ability to feel connected to what you're doing. Quick check. When was the last time you finished something important and actually felt it? Not relief, not obligation, satisfaction. You finish a project that should feel like a win, and feel nothing. You solve a complex problem, and move on without satisfaction. You accomplish what others struggle with, and wonder why it doesn't matter to you anymore. This isn't about motivation. It's about something much harder to detect. Something that hides behind competence. Something that disguises itself as maturity, discipline, or just getting older. Most people wait for dramatic signs. A breakdown, a moment they can't push through. But that's not how burnout works for intelligent people. You don't collapse, you continue. And that continuation becomes the problem. What I'm about to walk you through isn't theory. It's a pattern. One that's been quietly unfolding in your life without a name. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Stay with me, because recognizing this changes everything. If you're waiting to collapse, you won't recognize your burnout. Because what's happening to you doesn't fit the script. You're not crying in your car. You're not missing deadlines. You're not falling apart in visible ways. There's no dramatic moment where everything stops working. No emergency. No crisis that forces anyone to intervene. Instead, there's just you, moving through your day with unsettling efficiency. You reply to emails instantly, but feel nothing after sending them. You finish projects flawlessly, yet feel strangely empty when they're done. You move from task to task without resistance and without presence. Your calendar is full. Your to-do list gets checked off. Your output is consistent, maybe even impressive. But somewhere in the middle of all that function, something shifted. You show up to meetings and say the right things. You handle responsibilities others would crumble under. You solve problems before they escalate. From every measurable angle, you're fine. Better than fine, actually. You're performing at a level most people can't sustain. And that's exactly why this version of burnout is so hard to catch. Because you're not tired in the way people expect. You're not dragging yourself through the day. You're not complaining. You're not visibly struggling. You just exist inside your own routine without really feeling it anymore. It's like watching your own life from behind glass. You see yourself doing things. You recognize the motions. But the connection between action and feeling has been severed. You function, but you don't inhabit your own experience anymore. You're with friends, laughing at the right moments, but it feels like you're performing yourself. Someone asks how you're doing, and you give a perfectly accurate answer that contains zero truth. Maybe no one questions it. Not your boss, not your friends, not even you most of the time. You don't feel tired, you feel absent, and that's where it quietly begins. This is where intelligence turns against you. Not in obvious ways, not in ways you'd recognize as self-sabotage. It happens quietly, through a process that feels completely rational. You start explaining away your frustration instead of listening to it. Something bothers you. A task, a conversation, a situation that doesn't sit right, and instead of acknowledging the discomfort, you analyze it, you break it down, you find reasons why it makes sense, why it's necessary, why you shouldn't let it bother you, and slowly, methodically, you turn discomfort into something logical, manageable, acceptable. You tell yourself it's just part of the job, part of being an adult, part of what responsible people do. You rationalize until the feeling loses its edge, until it stops demanding your attention, until it fades into background noise you've learned to ignore. This feels like maturity, like emotional intelligence, like growth, but what's actually happening is something else entirely. You're not managing your emotions. You're numbing them. You're not solving the problem. You're making it invisible. And because you're so good at this, because your explanations are so convincing, you don't notice when you stop feeling things altogether. Nothing feels dramatic. Nothing feels urgent. Everything just is. You wake up and go through your day without peaks or valleys, without resistance or excitement, without anything that grabs you and makes you care. And because there's no chaos, no obvious pain, you assume you're fine. When everything makes sense but nothing matters, intelligence has become anesthesia, and the cost doesn't show up immediately. It accumulates in ways you won't recognize until much later. This is where most people get confused, because rest is supposed to be the answer, right? When you're tired, you take a break. When you're overwhelmed, you step back. When you're burned out, you disconnect. That's what every article, every podcast, every well-meaning friend tells you to do. So you try it. You take time off, maybe a long weekend, maybe a full week. You sleep in. You avoid your inbox. You do things that should feel restorative, and for a moment, it works. The pressure eases, your body relaxes, you breathe a little deeper, but then something strange happens. You start dreading going back before you even return. The thought of Monday creeps in on Saturday. The weight settles back over you while you're still technically on vacation. You enjoy the break, until normal life resumes exactly as before. Nothing changed. Not really. You slept more, but you wake up feeling just as disconnected. You recharged your body, but your mind still feels distant. The problem wasn't that you were tired. The problem was that you stopped caring, and rest doesn't restore that. Because the issue was never physical exhaustion. Rest replenishes energy. It gives your body what it needs to keep going, but it doesn't rebuild meaning. It doesn't reconnect you to the things that used to matter. It doesn't address the quiet erosion happening underneath your ability to function. You can rest for weeks and still return to a life that feels empty. Rest restores energy. It doesn't restore meaning, and that realization changes everything. And this is where it quietly turns dangerous. Because when meaning disappears, you don't just feel empty. You start making decisions from numbness. What happens next doesn't announce itself. From the outside, nothing looks wrong. You're still achieving, still moving forward, still checking boxes that other people struggle to even approach. Your life has all the markers of success, stability, progress, recognition, results. But inside, something fundamental has shifted. Success feels oddly neutral. You reach a milestone you've been working toward for months, maybe years, and when it finally happens, nothing. No rush of satisfaction, no sense of accomplishment, just a quiet acknowledgement that it's done, followed by the immediate thought of what's next. The promotion comes through, the project gets completed, the impossible problem gets solved, and it all registers as just another item crossed off a list. The moments that should feel significant pass by like everything else. Flat, unremarkable, almost forgettable. Celebrations stop happening. Not because sadness took over, not because gratitude disappeared, but because marking the moment feels pointless. Why celebrate something that doesn't touch you? Why make a big deal out of days that feel identical to all the others? It seems more honest to just move on, more realistic, more aligned with how things actually feel. But here's what's really happening beneath that supposed realism. The feeling isn't brokenness, it's indifference. And indifference is far more dangerous than pain, because pain at least signals that something matters enough to hurt. Indifference signals that you've stopped expecting anything to matter at all, and that's the real cost. You don't lose productivity. You lose your ability to tell what's worth it. Something essential has already been abandoned, not suddenly, not consciously, but quietly, over time. in ways that didn't register until the emptiness became your baseline. And almost no one calls this burnout. They call it growing up. Burnout doesn't happen despite you. It happens through you. Through 1,000 small adjustments you make without realizing they're costing you something essential. Through compromises that seem reasonable in the moment. Through choices that feel like maturity, but are actually slow erasures of what you need. You keep adjusting to expectations that drain you. Someone needs something, so you deliver. A deadline shifts, so you adapt. A responsibility falls on you that wasn't yours to carry, and you pick it up anyway because that's what capable people do. You don't fight it. You don't question it. You just accommodate. And each time you tell yourself it's temporary. Just this once. Just until things settle down. Just until the next project ends, the next quarter closes, the next crisis passes. But the adjustments keep coming, and you keep making them. You silence discomfort to stay functional. That nagging feeling that something's off, you push it down. That instinct telling you to say no, you override it. That voice wondering if this is really what you want, you rationalize it into submission. Because if you stopped to listen, everything would get complicated. If you acknowledged what you actually feel, you'd have to do something about it. And doing something about it feels impossible when so many people are counting on you. So you don't deal with it. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Later, when there's more time. Later, when things calm down. Later, when you're not so needed. Later becomes the place where your real feelings live. Perpetually postponed. Perpetually ignored. You don't collapse. You comply. And compliance over time becomes a personality. You didn't lose energy. You lost permission to feel. And once that permission is gone, the world responds to you differently. People lean harder, expect more, assume you're fine with it, because you've never given them a reason to think otherwise. No one notices because there are no obvious signs. You're not stumbling. You're not forgetting things. You're not showing up late or leaving early or visibly struggling to keep up. If anything, you're more reliable than ever, more composed, more the person everyone else leans on when things get chaotic. You become the steady one, the calm presence in the room, the person who handles what others can't, and that becomes your identity. People stop asking if you're okay because the question doesn't even occur to them. Why would it? You're clearly fine. You're clearly managing. You're clearly in control of whatever's in front of you. So they bring you more problems to solve, more responsibilities to shoulder, more situations that require someone who won't crack under pressure. And you take them on because that's what you do. That's what you've always done. That's what being capable looks like. But here's the part no one sees. The more you prove you can handle, the less anyone questions what it's costing you. Your competence becomes a shield that hides everything happening underneath. Every time you deliver, you reinforce the idea that you're unbreakable. Every time you stay calm, you confirm that you don't need support. And slowly, without anyone realizing it, including you, your strength turns into invisibility. Not because people don't care, but because your competence taught them you don't need care. Not the kind where people ignore you. The kind where people stop wondering if you're struggling because struggling doesn't fit the version of you they've come to rely on. You start calling that maturity, professionalism, being an adult. You start wearing it like armor. But armor doesn't protect you from what's happening inside. It just makes sure no one else sees it collapse. Here's where most intelligent people go wrong. When something isn't working, when the emptiness starts becoming too obvious to ignore, when the disconnect finally registers as a problem, the instinct isn't to soften, it's to tighten. You double down on discipline. You wake up earlier. You optimize your schedule. You cut out distractions. You build better systems. You tell yourself that if you just had more control, more structure, more efficiency, the feeling would go away. So you push harder. You take on another challenge. You set a bigger goal. You prove to yourself that you're still capable of more. Because if you can still achieve, if you can still perform at a high level, then clearly nothing's actually wrong. You demand more control over everything around you, convinced that the problem is external. The job, the people, the circumstances. If you could just fix those variables, manage them better, organize them more effectively, then you'd feel like yourself again. But nothing changes. Because what's breaking isn't your strength. It's not your discipline. It's not your ability to endure or execute or push through difficult things. What's breaking is something you can't fix with more effort. You've been operating under the assumption that burnout is a weakness, a failure of resilience. a sign that you're not tough enough to handle what's in front of you. So naturally, the solution feels like becoming tougher, stronger, more controlled. But the real problem isn't lack of resilience. It's prolonged inner silence. It's months, maybe years, of ignoring what you actually feel, of overriding your instincts, of functioning without permission to be human. And there's a moment when that has to change, when enduring more only makes it worse. The turning point isn't dramatic. It doesn't arrive with clarity or certainty or some profound revelation that changes everything overnight. There's no lightning bolt moment, no breakdown that forces your hand, no external event that makes the decision for you. It's quiet, internal, often uncomfortable. It starts when you stop forcing yourself forward long enough to actually listen, not to advice, not to what you think you should do, not to the voice that's been rationalizing and managing and explaining everything away for months. You listen to the part of you that's been waiting, the part that knows you've been operating on autopilot, the part that feels the absence even when everything looks fine, the part that's been whispering that something essential has been lost, and you've been too functional to hear it. And when you finally stop moving long enough to let that voice surface, it doesn't tell you to try harder. It doesn't tell you to rest more or optimize better or find a new strategy. It tells you to stop disappearing, to stop abandoning yourself in the name of reliability, to stop silencing what you feel in the name of competence, to stop treating your inner life like an inconvenience that gets in the way of productivity. You don't need to be less capable. You don't need to lower your standards or reduce what you're able to handle. You need to stop erasing yourself to make room for everything else. And that's more unsettling than staying numb, because staying numb is familiar, predictable, safe in its emptiness. Reconnecting means feeling again, means admitting that things haven't been okay, means facing what you've been avoiding while convincing yourself you were fine. It means letting yourself be uncertain, letting yourself not have all the answers, letting yourself exist without immediately turning everything into something manageable, logical, solvable. It's the messiest, most uncomfortable part of the entire process, because it strips away the armor you've been hiding behind. But it's the only way back. If this resonated, it's not weakness, it's not laziness, it's not ingratitude. It's intelligence carrying too much alone. It's the part of you that learned to rationalize discomfort until you stopped feeling it altogether. The part that kept adapting, kept delivering, kept functioning, while something essential quietly eroded underneath. You didn't fail. You didn't break. You just stopped giving yourself permission to exist as anything other than capable. And that's not sustainable. Not forever. Not without cost. If you feel like you're functioning but not really living, you're not alone here. This pattern is real. It's more common than people admit, and recognizing it is the first step towards something that actually matters. This isn't medical advice or professional guidance, it's perspective. If what you're experiencing feels overwhelming or persistent, reaching out to a mental health professional can make a real difference. There's no shame in that. It's actually one of the most intelligent things you can do. If this resonated, tell me which part felt uncomfortably familiar. And if you want content that goes beyond surface-level advice, consider subscribing. This space is for people who think deeply and feel quietly. Subscribe if you want more content that goes deeper than surface-level advice, because we're not here for quick fixes. We're here for what's real. Silence. End.